In 2001, there was a film called The Black Knight with Martin Lawrence that was passable as a movie and is some people's guilty pleasure to watch. This series is not an adaptation of that, thankfully. But this is a South Korean series that is another post-apocalyptic future scenario. We've had loads of those, including one recently, Silo, which is on Apple at the moment, which we've done a review for, which you can check in the comments below, where I'll leave a link so you can have a look at that. It's very good, based on a number of books.
Some mysteries, they're best left unsolved.
It's 10 episodes and it builds world amazingly. So is this one that you really want to get into? Let's talk about it. A legendary delivery man 5'8" with exceptional battle skills and a refugee soul who dreams of following in his footsteps, Black Knight focuses on the what ifs, how to become more than yourself in a world that is much less than. So in the future, there's 1% left of the world's population because of an asteroid that has hit Earth. And since then, at least in South Korea, there is a limited amount of air, and the world up top really is sand, really badly polluted by a thing you have to put your disbelief somewhat on in this series. But we've used technology to help us breathe, and everybody's using rebreathers. It reminds me a lot of the pandemic, actually, with everybody wearing face masks in this series. That's what you get. Divided with the 1% population is these hierarchies that we have now. So we have the rich underground, at least like 5 kilometers, and then we have those in between that are delivery men and that are like middle class, and then we have refugees that are classed as the worst of the worst. Kind of a social, I guess, a continued social talking about what is happening around the world today. You know, how we treat refugees, what each country does about the refugees and how they are treated sometimes is atrocious and very sad. And so I think it's a bit of a reflection on that, but it's never preachy with that. It's just more about the story of the delivery men, as said in the synopsis. And that's where the story kept it interesting. Now, if you're watching the first episode, you're probably going to be thinking, well, this is very Mad Max. Because there are some sequences with, you know, trucks and cars and bad guys trying to steal what the delivery men have.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
And it's filmed well, but it's nothing quite like Mad Max Fury Road. That is exceptional when it comes to desert action with vehicles. Thankfully, that's not where this series really has its heart. There's a number of worlds that this story has to set up, and one is with the delivery man, one is one with a young man wanting to be a delivery man, and the world that he is in, which is separate as well between the refugees and that of the woman that has kind of taken him in and looked after him and become the surrogate son to her. And where she works is interesting as well. Now, the end of the first episode hit me like a truck because I wasn't expecting it to go the way it was going to go. I was impressed with them doing what that was. And there's a few episodes like that. It does progress and get better with each episode. So if you're not sold at the end of episode 1, continue watching, because I guarantee that when you hit episode 3, it's because of the action and how they showcase it, you're gonna love it. And that's where, when it comes to South Korean series, when they do action, it's gritty, but it's realistic and it's hard hitting. The choreography here with the gung fu play, it's different to that of John Wick. And I know everybody references that when it comes to gunplay and gung fu. But before then, you know, we had all films like Hard Boiled, when there was action with gunplay and choreographed scenes. That has been around for a while. John Wick, it just did it slightly different in a new style. So I know that's what people reference all the time. But I'm going to go back further and talk about like
His face.
Face Off, those kind of gun battles. We get that here. And with 5'8" being a guy that's so charismatic, he carries presence on screen, you can't help but be on the delivery man's side, because they are kind of the heroes to the refugee refugee people, and not just them. They are the guys that travel across the desert, meeting deadlines, but also they have to be ridiculously trained because of how the world is now, up top at least, is a Wild West. You also have, and this is my favorite thing about the series, a sort of tournament arc, because the young man wants to be a delivery man. How you go about becoming that is really tough, and there are certain hurdles you have to go through and certain prerequisites as a person, you know, survivability, training, martial arts, driving, all of that comes into play. And so we get to see a sort of mini arc within the arc of the story of what's going on with the political story around and who's controlling everything and why it's being controlled. So there's a sort of claustrophobic storyline here because everybody's always trying to get oxygen and survive. Well, most of the people up top. And then there's a political storyline in here that isn't preachy but is enough to keep you engaged. And then there is that storyline with the characters that we focus on, and even the side characters. Yeah, even though it's only 6 episodes, it feels like they spend enough time with these characters that you get to know them. So many series have so long episodes. Remember those days when series were 22 episodes and that was still like the pilot series, and you still didn't really have much backstory around our characters? I was amazed at how much they were able to put in, how much world building the series is able to do in just 6 episodes. It also feels like a one and done. So it's like a contained story. We get a complete arc, and that is done really nicely. So you could feel satisfied when you end. There could be more if they wanted to do it. It'd have to be a really good story. But this feels like a one and done as well. The story is complete. The acting is good. You're gonna have your favorite characters, and I also think that you're gonna feel a bit hit emotionally because they've done enough with the characters. When certain key plot points happen, the action is outstanding sometimes. There's a couple of negatives, I would say, with CG. Occasionally there are shots with cars that that they look CG. The way the cars moves, they almost move robotically in tandem. Now, even when you have those cars in shots in films that are filming a number of cars that are driving together in tandem, there's always a slight movement. This one, they just felt like they were locked together in the grid. It just felt unreal, and they did that a couple of times. So I don't know if they just didn't have the budget to do that shot, or they needed to save time. But yeah, that did take me out of it. For the most part, I was really sold by this series. I would say if I was talking about another negativity, it would be the bad guy being the bad guy for the sake of being a bad guy. Here is a bad guy that goes, yeah, I am better than everybody, and therefore I'm going to wipe you lot out and take the people that I want. But we don't really get to understand how he became that way, why he is that way. There isn't a lot of time spent on him. I wouldn't want that much in this series particular, because it is quite well formulated in editing and pacing. Just a little bit more to make me understand why he is the way he is, I think would have helped. But for the most part, I really enjoyed this. I think it's a solid series. I'm going to give it 3.75 Nicolas Cages out of 5. I have seen better and longer lasting, but at the same time, there isn't a lot for me to take away from this that's negative. Just a few little niggles. Let me know your thoughts down below. How much did you enjoy this? Do you think it could have been better? Would you like to have been longer? Perhaps, because it does come and go. It's a fairly quick watch, only 6 episodes.
You got one.
What is your favorite post-apocalyptic film or TV series? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.